Ta-da! Hi. Welcome to this talk today on UK academic culture. My name is Felicity. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Too loud? No. Perfect? Excellent. We're off to a very good start. Okay, so basically in the next hour, I'm going to try and deliver a lot of information to you. So please bear with me. I will be going quite quickly. This is being recorded, and you should be able to get the PowerPoint later on from Keats as well. Okay? So essentially what we're going to be doing today is, hopefully by the end of this talk, you're going to have a better idea about the overall learning and teaching culture in the UK. We're going to have a quick chat about the personal tutor system, the support and advice that is available to you from King's in general, and methods of assessment and how you will probably be graded during your time here. We're also going to briefly touch on the importance of correct referencing to avoid plagiarism, which is something that obviously is very important in your academic assessment. Okay? So just to begin, there are broadly three types of discipline. As you can see here, discipline is what we call your academic subject or your field. So while there might be some crossover between different fields, you generally have natural, human or life sciences, arts and humanities, and social sciences, okay? So, as I said, some disciplines might kind of fall between these two, but generally the natural, human and life sciences are based on search for scientific truths and testable or provable theories. That might include something like medicine, engineering, physics, chemistry. Anyone doing anything like that? Yeah, one. Hi. Then we also have the arts and humanities. So who's doing arts and humanities? Okay, actually, about even. So arts and humanities are more related to arts and human culture, okay? So that could have things like literature, history, philosophy, music, that kind of thing. Then we would have social sciences, which is kind of studying the human world and the interactions between people. That might include things such as politics, business, economics, education, psychology, sociology. Do we have any social sciences in the house? Ah, loads of them. Okay, great. So that's just broadly the different disciplines that we have here. Let's take a look at the next one. So depending on your discipline, you might have different types of interactions during your time here at King's. It might be different from one semester to the next and from one year to the next. So you'll probably have lectures. You may have seminars, tutorials, possibly laboratory or lab work, and there will definitely be some self-directed study. So that could be independent or autonomous learning. This could be the kind of thing if you were to write a thesis or a dissertation where you will be doing a lot of work off your own ideas and your own independent type of study, okay? So some of you might have all of these, some of you might have some, and there's some of you, for example, laboratory or lab work, many courses won't have that. So one thing that I will say that in this presentation today, I'm trying to give you a kind of overview of what's going on at King's, but the best source of information throughout your course is your own department, okay? They have all of the information and they will be able to keep you abreast of what you need to do and where you need to be. So have a quick look at these questions here. I would like you to say hello to the person or people beside you. Go on. Or behind you. You can look behind you. Okay, you got 3 minutes. What do you think about these questions? Any ideas? Some ideas? No ideas? Have a quick chat with them. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. I'm working on the assumption you have been discussing these questions and not just planning what you're going to do at the weekend or after this presentation. But, you know, you started talking to people you didn't know, so that's good. Just looking at these, excuse me if I read a bit of this information out, but there's quite a lot. So with the first one, how often do you expect to see a module lecturer? What are you reckoning? Any numbers? Anyone feeling brave? Many different responses. So the answer really is, it depends. Sorry. So it really depends on how many modules you're doing. It depends on how many modules you have each semester, each term. So the number of times you see, basically, it depends on how the course is organized in your subject area. So this is something you simply need to find out from your department. But I would say, in most cases, if I were to pick an average, it would be twice a week. Okay, so you probably have a different tutor for each module. For the second one, what is the correct way to address your lecturer?
By his or her academic title.
Yes, that's definitely a safe bet. I would say that's probably the best way to go, but it depends again on the individual. Some people might prefer something a little bit less formal, and they might ask you to call them by their first name, okay? So what I would say is make sure you know which is the first name and which is the family name. That may sound funny, but we've seen very many strangely addressed emails where sometimes people write an email addressing it Dear Smith or something like that, using a family name instead of the first name. So I would say kind of see what the professor or the lecturer says and take that as your cue, because they do generally let you know how they wish to be addressed, okay? If you need to see your lecturer, how would you do this? Somebody at the back over here, any ideas?
Either office hours or sending them an email.
Yeah. So I would say email is generally the first point of contact to make a specific meeting with somebody. You could, yeah, most of your tutors will let you know about office hours as well. Now, depending on the department and depending on the tutor, some people will have a drop-in office hour, or other people might schedule appointments within an office hour. Again, it depends. You might be able to speak to a tutor briefly at the end of a lecture, but to be honest, the academic hour, as you may or may not know, is 50 minutes. And it goes from 5 past the hour until 5 to. So there may not really be the time to catch the person that you need to speak to at the end of the lecture. So I would say the simplest way is to just email them, okay? If you have a problem, who should you go and see? So this is probably a good place to go to would be your personal tutor. We're going to come on to that in a moment to explain who your personal tutor is. So that is somebody who will give you help and guidance in addition to your academic tutor, your faculty members who are actually delivering the course that you are studying on, okay? How will you get feedback on your work? Any ideas? It's probably going to be either by email, so sent back to you that way, or it's possible that some people might distribute paper copies with grades, or for example, if it was a test where it's been marked and you've been doing it on paper, you might get a paper copy back. But of course, all of this is going to be made clear to you throughout the course. So I say just make sure that you're listening and you're paying attention when your individual faculty members are telling you this information, okay? The last one, how many lecturers will you have in your course? Again, I'm sorry, it depends. Probably 3 to 8, but it really just depends on the course that you're doing. So make sure that you find out the answers to these questions that are relevant to you, because the person sitting beside you or behind you could well be studying something different, and you can't just work on the assumption that your friend or somebody that you know is going to have the same answers to these questions as you will, okay? So the personal tutor role, okay, with your new classmate or colleague beside you, what do you think the personal tutor role is? You've got 1 minute to have a quick chat together. Okay, I'm going to stop you again. I'm sorry, it's just a bit difficult for me to actually get feedback from you guys about what you've been discussing, but hopefully what you've been talking about is that a personal tutor is going to meet with you in the first few weeks of the academic year and often at a couple of other times throughout the year then. So normally you would see the personal tutor 3 times throughout the year. So they take an interest in your academic progress and general well-being, okay? So they're kind of there for you to discuss how everything's going in general, to make sure that you're doing okay in your studies, in your assessments, and in your life in general while you're here at King's. They can be a friendly face that you can get to know and develop a relationship with, and who can help you if you do come across any problems or issues that you need guidance or advice with. Now, what I really want to impress upon you today is that a personal tutor is not your private life coach. They are not available 24/7 or every day or every week. They may have several different students for whom they are fulfilling, oh God, that's a difficult sentence, for whom they are fulfilling the personal tutor role. So while they are there to help you and offer guidance, they're not counselors, okay? So we're going to later on in this presentation have a look at where you might get different types of help and assistance. But this is quite an important cultural difference between the UK and some other countries. Your personal tutor can signpost you to where you can get help for a wide variety of different things, but they themselves are not your counsellor and are not on call, okay? So let's just quickly move on to how this personal tutor relationship will work. So you might meet them in a group setting, in a small group for up to an hour, or it's possible that you might meet them individually for 15, 20, maximum 30 minutes. So this would generally happen in the personal tutor's office, or it might happen in a classroom, or maybe you might meet somewhere else. This will probably be arranged initially by the personal tutor. They will contact you in general and let you know that they are your personal tutor and see about arranging initial meetings together. It might be that you are contacted by the administrative staff of your department who will show you how to get in contact with your personal tutor, or will ask you to make an appointment with them. So as I said, you'll probably see your personal tutor 3 times in the year, but they will also have office hours. So you do have the ability to kind of drop in and see them in their office hours. So when you meet your personal tutor, make sure that you find out when those office hours are, okay? Right, in addition to the personal tutor, sorry, I know I'm going very fast. There's a lot of information. We have lots of other support available here at King's, so you can get help with everything. And if this is your first week here, you've probably found out about quite a lot of this already, but you can find out help for accommodation issues. You can have careers advice, chaplaincy, childcare. You can get counselling. You can talk to somebody about disability or dyslexia support, for example. There is a health services team. You can discuss student funding, and there is specific support available for international students as well. So if you have a problem, the chances are there's many people who are ready and willing to help you. It's all there, okay? So make sure that you are making yourself aware of the services and the support that's here at King's to help you. Right, so on to the wonderful world of assessment. Yay! We like marking no, we don't. Nobody likes assessment, not even the tutors, okay? So depending on your discipline, you might have lots of different types of assessment. You might do exams, you might do essays. We don't really call them papers here. We normally call them assignments or essays. If you hear your tutor talking about a paper, it generally refers to a published journal article. Okay, so just that could be one difference, is that an assignment or an essay that you write is not called a paper in general. So you might do presentations or poster presentations. Has anyone done a poster presentation? That might be something new. A few people? Again, it depends on your discipline. That's more common in the sciences, but it depends on the course that you're going to do. You might have practical exams, for example, in a laboratory or something. You might have to do individual or group work projects, and you most likely will do some research, either for a dissertation or a thesis. So I can't tell you, because I don't know what courses you're all going to do, which of these will be relevant to you. But again, I'm going to keep repeating myself. Find out all the information you can from your department. Make sure that you know how you're going to be assessed and when you're going to be assessed. Make sure that you find out the criteria that you need to fulfill in order to do well in your own department, okay? The information is available for you, and the more that you know, the easier it will be for you to meet your targets and achieve your goals. So there's two main terms that you will hear. We have formative assessment and summative assessment. Anyone want to volunteer what they think these are, or the difference between them? Yeah, do you want to go?
Well, the formative assessment, I think it will not become as part of your grade, and the summative one will be just as your final grade, right?
Yeah, did everyone hear that definition? Yeah, that's very exactly. So really, formative is part of your learning in the course, but it doesn't go towards the final grade. So you may wonder, why would I do the formative assessments if they don't count towards the final grade? Practice, yes, it's your opportunity to get feedback. It's your opportunity to show that you are engaging with the course. So while formative assessments do not count towards the overall final grade, they're still incredibly important. So please make sure that you're engaging with them. Here is a look at the undergraduate grading. Who is undergraduate? Okay, so if we have a fight between the undergraduates and the postgraduates, how many postgraduates are there? Oh, it's almost 50-50. Okay, right. I'm going to start taking bets in a bit. But first of all, let's have a look at the undergraduate assessment grading. So a first class honours is 70% upwards. This can be a real shock to the system for many people when they're arriving in the UK, because they may be used to getting exceptionally high percentages or very, very high grades in their own country, in their own background. And suddenly someone's telling them that 71% is fantastic and they're doing very well, and they're thinking, but I normally get 95. I don't get, sorry, what? Don't panic. Look at this and remember it, okay? Above 70. Now, 2-1 is an upper second, so that's 60 to 69%. And again, many people really get upset and very worried when they get their first piece of work back and it's in the 60s. It's probably all right, you know, if it's your first assignment. I wouldn't be too worried about that. 2-2, 50 to 59, and a third is 40 to 49. So all of these are pass grades. Under 40%, it's a fail. But all of these are passing grades. I mean, obviously, you probably want to be higher up, but they are all passing grades. So look in your program handbook for a copy of the undergraduate assessment criteria. That is also available on the King's website. And that will show you kind of some descriptors about like what, let me just go back there. Yeah, what you would need to do to get into these different bands, as we call them. You can have a look for it up here. So this, I don't know if, sorry, it's probably a little bit small for those of you in the back. But you can just basically search on the King's website, have a look for undergraduate marking. You click on the download and you'll be able to get all the information you need. So postgrad marking is a little bit different because we call it distinction, merit and pass. And there are grade equivalents here. So an A is above 70%. Again, this is something that's part of the UK academic culture that might be quite different to what you're used to. So B plus and B is merit, C plus and C is pass, and D, well, let's not talk about D too much anyway, so hopefully we're not going to be getting Ds. But again, all of this information is available. You can look at the what we call the band descriptors, where it will give you a kind of overview of what you need to be doing to get these different grades. So here are some of the key themes and potentially the key differences in how you will be assessed compared to what you may have been used to. So we are always looking for originality in analysis. And as you can see, for postgraduate, that kind of gets bumped up a little bit to originality and independent thought. It's very difficult in 2017 to be truly original, to really create something absolutely new. And that's not necessarily what we're looking for or what we expect from you. So when we're talking about originality and independent thought, it's how you are addressing the issues, how you're dealing with the subject matter. And you can be very original in that way, in how you discuss other people's work and how you engage with the topic and the arguments that you bring together. So we're not expecting necessarily that everybody's going to have really true light bulb moments where you're creating something absolutely groundbreaking and new. You don't need to do that to get an A, so don't panic. But it's how you're dealing with and engaging with the reading and the subject matter and how you are evaluating it and being critical. Okay, so just to move on, during your time here, you may decide that you want some support with academic English and study skills. It may be because you are a speaker of English as a second or additional language, or it may be because you just think, you know what, I'd like to just get a little bit of a stronger grip on my presentation skills or referencing or something like that. You may have received feedback from a tutor that indicates that you have an area that you want to work on. Or you might just really like study skills and just think that that's a good way to spend your time. So if that's the case, we've got lots of options for you. Loads of them. So across the university, you can get support with grammar, with vocabulary, with your speaking skills and seminar skills. And this is not all necessarily for those of you who do not have English as a first language. This can be helpful for anybody. You can get essay writing help. You can get support with dissertation writing, with the language that you need to use in a PhD, with making the transition to undergraduate study, to postgraduate study, the general principles of academic writing, how to use sources effectively, and presentation skills. So all of this stuff is available for you. And I really recommend that you have a think about the things that you would like to maybe focus on improving a bit, and do come to some of these classes and take some of these courses. You can meet new people, you can always pick up a few tips. They're only normally an hour long, and we often have them on at lunch times and in the different campuses, so at times and places that will suit you. Hi.
How can you sign up?
Let me come back to that in a second. I've got like a load of beautiful screenshots that you probably won't be able to see from the back, but sorry, I did say sit at the front. Okay, so we have some of these that are kind of geared more for international students, as in people who don't use English as a first language, or they are speaking it as an additional language. But they are actually open for anybody. Okay, so please go to whatever ones that you wish, providing that you sign up. You can also get some subject-specific sessions. We have some law courses, creative media and cultural industries, digital humanities, theology and religious studies, and many others. So let's have a look at how you can actually find all of these courses. So there's 3 different ways. You can go through Skills Hub, you can go through the library website, and through the English Language Centre, that's where I'm from, through the ELC website. Skills Hub. That's not it. Okay, let's have a look. So, ta-da! See that? Yay! I can do things on PowerPoint. Oh no, maybe I can't. Okay, so you go up here to internal, and then you would write Skills Hub in that little box at the top right. Then you click go. And it brings you to Skills Hub here. So basically, this is where you can just go through the different choices and find something that you think is going to help you to excel and to achieve the goals that you have. So you might want to go into the academic and writing skills. We've got exam support, all of these different things. So you would click on that. And then it brings you to a session down at the bottom that's related to that, which you can then choose. Let's have a look, where are we? Yeah, so then basically you click on the session that you want at the time that you want, and you click over there, book this course. To be honest, this is going to be a lot easier for you to just actually go on to Skills Hub, search it and have a look and see what's coming up and see what you would like to do. So you basically go on to Keats, click on internal, type in Skills Hub in the box, and then have a little play around with the different options, and you'll find something then, hopefully, that you want to do. Okay, so then we have over here, this bit. So you can also get one-to-one support with PhD students from your specific subject area. So that can be really useful as well. So you can go into this part as well and do chat to a study skills leader. So that basically means that you can get put in touch with a PhD candidate who obviously has been studying your subject area for a long time, and they should be able to give you some feedback, give you some guidance. What they're not going to do, FYI, I'm going to say this really clearly, they are not going to proofread your work for you or write your work for you, okay? They can give you some guidance and they can give you some help and maybe suggest some reading, for example, but they're not going to sit there and correct your work and reorganize it and that kind of thing, okay? They're there to guide you in your work, not write it for you. So you can also go through the library website. Down at the bottom here, Study Skills Centre. You can literally just click on one of these courses and you can use Keats. So you can see over on the course that you would want to enroll on. This is King's Learning and Skills Services, Keats module. Enroll yourself. And you can choose then to go to workshops or to book an appointment. Finally, you can go through the English Language Centre website itself. So you click on Academic English and Skills, choose one of these 7,000 different, well, that's a slight exaggeration, but one of these courses that we have down here. And you can, if you're getting completely confused, just email the English Language Centre. So what I've done is spend the last 10 minutes in a very long way telling you that what you really should do is go on to Keats and onto the King's websites. Just put in Skills Hub academic skills into the search box and you'll get loads of different results. There's so much support and help available for you. So hopefully you will find everything you need there. And if all else fails and you want some language or study skills support, you can email the King's Academic English Department as well. Okay, so final part of today's presentation is about acknowledging sources. With the people beside you, have a quick chat. Why is this important? How do you need to do it? What happens if you don't do it? Dun, dun, dun. Okay, talk to each other. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. So acknowledging sources is obviously of paramount importance. Please don't make the mistake I made when I was 19 and I rocked up to university and just like wrote 4 names at the back of my essay. Didn't do very well in that first assignment. So you need to properly acknowledge sources. And there are several different ways of doing so. It will, again, depend on your department. Yay! So 3 of the most common ways are the author date method, which is often called Harvard. We're calling it King's Harvard 4 here, or 6, excuse me. There is also a numeric method and footnotes. You need to find out what your department wants you to do. There is no one size fits all. I can tell you now 100% you must use Harvard style, because it depends on what you're going to be studying. So make sure that you find that out, and then make sure that you learn how to do it. Because it's an easy way to pick up marks, and it's a really easy way to lose marks if you're doing all sorts of crazy referencing, or even if you're using referencing correctly, but the wrong style for your department, okay? So find out, and you can normally ask the department, the course handbook, or the tutor, is this going to work? Yay! So the library guides, there's a really clear guide here. It says, if you're studying this, then you should use that. Okay? And then when you click on it, it tells you how to do it. I would advise you not to choose what you want. I would advise you to ask what they want. Better safe than sorry. So, yeah, you find out what you're studying. You don't find out what you're studying. You find what you are studying, and then you click on this bit. Yeah? And then once you go into that, it tells you how to do it. It's not the most interesting thing you're ever going to read at university, but it's useful. And referencing is fiddly, so it will show you how to do it both in text, which is the type of citation or reference you use in the body of your work, of your report or your essay, and also what happens at the end.
Does King's offer like some software?
You can use EndNote, and as well, if you go to this library guide, there's some links to software that can help you do it. But it's and that will help you. You can also cite through the Cite tool on Google Scholar. I don't know if anyone's ever used that, but that can make your life a lot easier. If you go onto the King's Library Referencing Guide, once you find out which style your department wants you to use, and you click into it, there will be links there that show you how to do it. But yeah, you can use the Cite button on Google Scholar, or you can use EndNote or RefWorks as well. And they will do lots of the annoying bits for you, because the computers can do magical things now. You don't have to type it all out yourself. You can just normally make it happen. So basically, what you need to remember, of course, is that the acknowledgement is always twice. You need to cite in the body of the text. Now, it might be a number, and then a number in the reference list, or it might be a number and then a footnote, or it might be Harvard style, where it's the name and the year, and potentially the page number of the publication. But it always needs to appear in the text and also in the reference list. Okay? So you have the short form in the body of the text, and the full details at the end of the text. Now, I know all of you are going to be thinking about going out having fun in London, but if you get bored on Saturday night, you can spend a few hours reading the King's College Library and Referencing Guide. That's what I do on Saturdays, right? That's why I work in the English Language Centre, huh? Okay, so just having a quick look at the King's Harvard style. So this is what we mean when we're talking about the in-text. And then, oops, this is the reference list here. So you have the full citation with all of the information, the name of the text from which the reference came. That's all going at the end. Sorry, now the numeric approach, what I mean by that is where you have a number in the text that correlates to the number in the reference list. So when you see number 1 in the text, you know it's referring to reference number 1. And then there is a footnotes method where you have one of these little tiny little cute numbers, and that goes to a footnote at the bottom of the page. So again, just find out which one they want you to do. So basically, these are the top reasons of when we need a reference. So you need them when you include tables, statistics, and quotes, when you're discussing a theory associated with a particular writer, when you're pulling together ideas introduced and referenced earlier, and when you include another person's ideas but in your own words. So you need them a lot. You should make it clear all the time whose ideas belong to whom. This is how you avoid plagiarism. So one of the things that we suggest is that you think about avoiding plagiarism even at the very initial stages of preparing a report or writing an essay. Because one of the big accidental ways that students plagiarize completely accidentally is they're making notes and they're either writing them down or they're, copying things from a text into a document. Maybe this goes on for several weeks. They're not actually submitting the essay for quite a while, but just somewhere along the line, they haven't made a clear enough note about where those ideas came from. So they have their notes, they start to write using them, they start to turn them into an essay, they're paraphrasing, they're summarizing, and it's very easy, if you haven't made very clear indications from where you got those ideas, it's very easy to accidentally plagiarize in that way. So I say, please be systematic when you're taking notes and when you're planning your essays. So make a little key like this. Some people do this. Q if it's a direct quotation, P is a paraphrase, or your own words, me, so that you know where the ideas are coming from. Okay? Make sure that you're taking a note of the page number, the volume, the issue, etc. Do this stuff as you go along, because it's a real pain when you suddenly realize later that you've got a quote but you don't know where it came from, and you have to start Googling it, and then maybe you've typed it half wrong and you're getting all sorts of crazy things, and the next thing you're just reading some newspaper and you don't know where the original source was. So keep a systematic log of all of this stuff as you go along. It sounds a bit boring, it is a bit boring, but it will help you in the long run, and it will mean that at 3 o'clock in the morning before you submit your essay, you're not sitting there pulling your hair out, scratching your eyes out, trying to find who this quote came from. Trust me, learn from my mistakes, okay? So this is what we say is keep a working bibliography. So put them all in as you're going. And make sure as well that you double check before submitting a piece of work that everything that's in the reference list or bibliography is in the text and vice versa. Because you might have written and rewritten bits over and over again. And then suddenly I'm like, oh, they've got 17 sources in the text and 24 in the bibliography. Huh. Okay, so it's make sure it just, go backwards and forwards and make sure that you've got the right ones in the right place. Okay, so how often should you refer to your source? The answer is often. So I'd say try and keep the pronoun or the word the author or the name of the author several times in each paragraph. Basically, you need to err on the side of caution and make sure that the reader knows whose ideas belong to who. So it's better to have maybe a few too many than too few, and then the reader isn't sure if it's your idea or if it's the idea of the source or if it's you pretending that it's your idea, but I know because I'm your tutor and I know what the source said, and then it might be plagiarism. Okay, really quick little activity with your friends beside you. Have a look at this short paragraph. So I would like you to think about the style that this has been written in. Can you see it at the back? Not really. Let me see if I can make it move. No, everything's gone terribly wrong. I'm going home. It's over. No, 5 minutes. Let's see, where were we? So can you see this? I'll try and read it out to you for those of you who might not be able to see it. It says, a lot of people think that the weather has got worse. Research has shown that we now get storms, etc. all the time. They say that this has been going on for quite a long time. I think that they're quite right. Would the people beside you? What do you think about the style of this little text? Okay, so do we agree that it's a bit rubbish? Is it bad English, though?
Yes.
Really? I don't think so. Why do you think it's bad English? No, I didn't say bad academic English. Has got worse. It's, no, got and gotten, exactly the same. In fact, got is more prevalent in British English.
People think that the weather has got worse because a lot of people and people could basically be in the same thing.
Well, I mean, so what I would say is that there's nothing grammatically wrong with this. It's not technically incorrect English in general. If somebody was having a chat with you and said that, you might be like, okay, you haven't really told me anything. This isn't a particularly interesting thing that you've said to me, but I understand everything that you've said, right? But this is completely inappropriate for an academic context. And the points that you're making, that I kind of vaguely heard some people say, so a lot of people, there's so much vagueness. Who are these people? A lot of people, just a lot of people? Where is this a lot of people? How do you define a lot? Okay, the use of the word got in itself is actually more of a problem because the verb get is a feature that is more common in academic speech, or excuse me, in general speech than in academic English. We're using this personal pronoun we, and also I, making it too subjective. This is quite a big debate in the academic context, but as a rule, it is probably not the best idea to be writing about what you think in your essay. So the use of personal pronouns, I, we, my, etc., makes something quite subjective and too personal. And what we want is objectivity and supported argument. So simply saying I think, not very academic. It's not good academic style. Research has shown that we now get storms, etc. Please avoid, etc. And they haven't spelled it right. That's one mistake, that's true. All the time. Again, what is all the time? Are we talking about every week, every year? It's also vague. Think about academic discourse as focusing on concision, on supported argument and fact. Avoid things that are vague and wishy-washy, and you're going to be on to a good start. And then this last bit, I think that they're quite right. All right, okay, but that's just your opinion. Tell me why you think that. Have a look at this one. I know you're all speechless because it's just so fantastic, right? You're like the hearts for eyes emoji. So just in brief, because we don't have very much time, you can hopefully see there's quite a marked difference between this little paragraph and the previous one. Now, we've written these to be exceptionally clearly contrastable. There's a weird sentence. To be contrasted quite clearly. But one of the big things that should jump out is that it's just more specific. We've got a reference in here. Now, they have got kind of a vague opening sentence, but I don't really think that's too much of a problem because it is widely believed that the climate is deteriorating. It's true. Doesn't mean the person isn't saying that they believe it. They're making a statement that in the world, there are many people around the world that believe this, okay?
How many?
Pardon?
It's vague too.
It is vague, but it's considerably less vague than, well, a lot of people.
Isn't it the same?
Because the problem with a lot of people is that you're bringing in a quantity that is really difficult to explain what that quantity is. Now, there will be times in academic writing where you have to kind of introduce an idea with a truism, with this kind of general statement. But what they haven't done is based their paragraph on the general statement. They've said it, and they've done that to lead in to the interesting bit here, which is where they're saying this belief, the belief that the climate is deteriorating, appears to be supported by McKinley. So they're bringing in their source then to explain why they're talking about this in the first place. So it's okay to start with something that's a little bit of a generic opening statement, as long as that isn't forming the main crux of the paragraph. Oh. Roast beef. Snowy London. Studying. The tube. And queues. Okay, literally 2 minutes with the person beside you. Why have we chosen these pictures to talk about acculturation? Okay, so there are 5 really fantastic examples of things that might be different in the UK. So obviously food, weather, it's real nice, isn't it? That was my wonderful sarcasm. The library, the tube, and then the queuing thing. So queues maybe is symbolic of manners and cultural norms, this kind of thing. I would say, I mean, look, you're in a different country. Many of you are in a different country. Many of you might have been here before. For some of you, it might be your first time in London or in the UK or even in Europe or the kind of Western world in a broader context. And there's probably a lot of new things. Even if you're from the UK and you've come to London for the first time, it takes a while to get your head around what is going on, why is everybody power walking on the left and pushing each other out of the way, that kind of thing. You know, be a detective and just walk around and kind of snoop on what other people are doing, and that helps, okay? So If there are things that are overwhelming and difficult, please talk to each other. Talk to your friends and family back home, talk to your classmates, talk to your personal tutor. Talk to the counselling service if it's something that's a little bit more serious and you really feel like you need some more professional help and guidance, because it's all there for you. It's going to be a little bit difficult, and hopefully it will be exciting and wonderful at the same time for you to be studying here at King's and in London. I don't really have anything more to say than that, except for this. Questions?
On the study hub, I see that you have specific dates for the resources. Are those offered throughout the terms, or are the ones listed the only ones throughout the year?
Are you talking about from what you saw on this, or ones that you've looked at yourself? Yourself. I think with the study hub, did it just say ones for this term?
Yeah, for example, the dissertation one, it only has October listed. Is that offered again?
From the best of my knowledge, things will be repeated throughout the year. Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Sorry, I don't know if this is the right place to ask this question, but
Go. Hopefully I'll be the right person to answer.
if you have to have something edited, who's the appropriate person to proofread something? Is that
That is not a service that is offered by King's, nor is that something that you should really be doing. So it's like if you wanted to get something proofread, there are private companies that can do that, but you have to be very careful because it could be considered to be collusion.
I was thinking more for like referencing to make sure that it's done correctly. Like, is there someone that could look at it and say,
That could be something where it might be useful to, like, if you were to book an appointment, for example, you know, we said like the PhD students do it. That's something that they could help with, to throw an eye over your referencing list. Hi.
It's really vague, but like, you know how sometimes some professors really welcome discussion and questions during the lecture, but some say that you need to wait till the end of the lecture for questions. What is more appropriate at King's or in general?
It's a very good question, and it's quite a difficult one to answer. It depends on what the lecture is. I tend to say, I would say that most of the lecturers will tell you at the beginning if they want you to keep questions to the end, or if they're happy to invite questions throughout. As a rule of thumb, if it's a lecture, the majority of the time it would probably be better to wait till the end until questions are invited. If you have, I mean, this is a bit different, obviously this is an information session, I don't mind if we're stopping and starting, but if you are giving a lecture on an academic topic and there's constantly questions which maybe are preempting just what you're going to say in 2 minutes, it can be a little bit stop and start. So I would say, as a rule of thumb, wait till the end.
Sorry.
That's okay.
What's the difference between a lecture and seminar?
Okay, so a lecture generally is when you will be with more people, and it's often a bit more one-directional, where the person who is running the lecture is going to give a lot of information and everybody will listen, take notes, and probably have some questions at the end. Whereas a seminar is much more discussion-based. You will be with a smaller group, maybe 10, 12 of your peers. You probably will have been given something to read and prepare in advance, and when you get to that seminar, you will generally be invited to discuss it or maybe tackle one particular issue that's come up in the reading. So in a seminar, it's this kind of interaction. Whereas in a lecture, it's more that way. One person speaking, everyone listening, taking notes. There will be differences. Again, it depends on your faculty and on your department. It depends on the individual's lecturing style. There are some people who will ask questions of the audience, who will invite discussion throughout, who might ask you guys to talk and feedback. But a seminar is much more student-focused and students discussing the topics at hand. Okay, I've got time for one more if anyone has one more. Sorry, because I haven't heard from you at all. Go.
Personal tutor, do they prefer to come in during the office hours or actually make an appointment?
I would say, so you will probably be contacted to make an initial appointment initially, but then throughout the year, if you just wanted to have a catch-up every couple of months, I would try and make an appointment. So maybe leave the office hours for more of an ad hoc thing. But this is the sort of question I would just recommend that you ask your personal tutor themselves. Okay, I'm sorry if anyone had any other questions. We do have to wrap it up now because one final point, the academic hour, 5 past until 5 to. So it's almost 4. Oh, we've got a few more minutes. I just can't read my time. If there's any last question, or else we can all leave because it's very, very hot. One more question. Go.
About the assessment.
Yes.
For the first postgraduate, it said that you consider originality and then independent thought and then independent critical evaluation. I was just thinking, wouldn't that be a bit subjective? How do you know that, okay, this one is so, is exhibiting very good independent critical evaluation, this one is this one is very...
So criticality is really about what you do with the source. It's about making connections and questioning the topics and the reading that you've done. So there's very many different ways to do that. But obviously, whoever is going to be marking your work will be able to see, is this student just repeating what they've read? Or are they actually approaching it in a more original way and trying to kind of make comparisons, maybe make some connections in a more original way? So it's quite a difficult question for me to answer just like that. But my best advice would be to take a look at the band descriptors and the undergraduate and postgraduate marking criteria, because it's all kind of divided into little boxes and will explain what you should be doing with materials in order to get the higher grades, okay? If anyone has any questions, I am from the English Language Centre. You can contact us and they can be forwarded to me. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy your year, and it's lovely to have seen you. Can't really say met you, but seen you all, okay? Have a lovely evening.